Keondria, when she comes out on this other side, she goes, I want to help students. I want to help graduate students because I don't think everybody knows how to deepen their scholarship and how to write in a way that they're deeply connected to the work. I don't think people know. I don't think it's right away. When people say journal, I don't think people just know like what that means. Like, what am I journaling about? Is there a structure? Do people tell you? And folks don't really always tell you what that is about. So she started thinking like, how can I help other graduate students or other any academics who want to journal, and what would that look like? Go ahead, Keondria.
So a little bit of a backstory context for that as well. Graduated in 2018, right? So 2018, I just kind of expected to have a job after I graduated because I had this PhD, right? So somebody's going to hire me. So I expected to have a job right after I graduated, but that was not what happened. And I hit a significant low point. It was to the point where, I was applying to jobs daily, 10, 15, and you start just becoming obsessed with it and start doing things, just grabbing at whatever you can get, applying to things that don't even make sense for you to apply to, but just, applying to things because it's like I need something, especially coming from having a project, having that sense of purpose, having that thing that you're working on, and then the buzz of everyone being around you working on something together. So when I graduated, it was a low point for me. I went on one academic job interview and I didn't get that job. Hell, they didn't even bother sending a rejection letter or even a telephone call, right? So I had to email them and say, did I even get, so I didn't even get that job. But shortly after I got married and I was working as an adjunct, right? So I'm still working as an adjunct, so I'm still working kind of in the area, in the field. So I was at a community college, but no other job prospects. And I found myself spending time in sweats and this old sweatshirt, right? So it was daily that I was in these sweats and sweatshirts. And I couldn't write. I'd sit down to write, I couldn't write. I couldn't think. I'd leave my office, my workspace, with just like maybe a paragraph written, but none of it made sense. It was so incoherent. It wasn't even like, what are you really writing about? Because I had nothing to write. I had nothing to write about. So I found myself in these same oversized sweats and sweatshirt, with the holes in the elbow because you've worn this sweatshirt out so long. But it began to feel like the degree was useless. Like, I've wasted my time. This is both, Paul, dissertation and COVID. Like, I've wasted my time, and it's like, what am I doing here with this? So it became a point to where my husband would say, well, maybe you need to go to the library, or do you want to get up and put some clothes on today, or maybe we should just go for a walk, right? Because I knew what this was, but some of us, especially coming from my background, right? So we don't really say we have depression. It's like you just need to get over it or get out of the funk or whatever it is that you're in, So I was in this depressive state. I wasn't in a good mental state at all. So I backed off of applying for jobs because I couldn't show up. I couldn't show up to an interview broken like this. I couldn't show up. I couldn't even be authentic as I showed up at the interview because I didn't even know who that was right now, right? So none of that. So backed away from that. And I was so fortunate and grateful that I had a partner who supported me. And I never take that for granted because when I needed to spend the time on the couch, right, it was okay, let her spend time on the couch. When I sat on the back porch for hours doing nothing, looking at the trees and the birds because I had nothing else to do, I was allowed that space to do that. So 2 to 3 years later, I'm still an adjunct. no full-time work, still walking around in a fog. But I began this obsessive binge again about applying for jobs. Any job would help, any job I would take. Then the pandemic hit. So I saw all of these people out of work, people getting sick, people dying in the food lines, right? For food and necessities. And like many of you, I was in disbelief, like, I can't believe this is happening. And then the things that I was so worried about were no longer a worry, because this is not that big of a deal that I don't have a job right now, that I'm still able to pay my bills when so many other people are not even able to do that, right? So the little things that I was worried about became very, very minor in the big picture with COVID happening. So my focus shifted. It was no longer selfish, right? So it was no longer about how do I help myself and how can I advance my career, or how can I do the things that I need to do, but how can I help others right now, especially with the knowledge and the things that I know, right? So I don't know how many of you are spiritual, but I am a spiritual being. So I put it out in the universe. You can call it God, call it whatever you want to call it, but my thing was, show me my talents and my gifts, and show me how I can use them to help people. But more importantly, I wanted to see myself. So I've written on my mirror, allow me to see myself the way you see me. Right? So that was then my thing. How am I supposed to use my gifts and talents to help others? So a few weeks later, while I was in the shower, I had this brilliant idea, right? So you know when you have a good idea when you feel it in your bones. You know when you have a good idea. I had this brilliant idea, and I was like, oh my God, this could work. Don't know how it's gonna work, but this could work. So just thinking about my own academic journey. The academic journey changes you. It changes you. It changes how you see people. It changes how you interact. It changes the conversations you have. It changes your confidence. It changes the way you even see your abilities, right? So everything changes. Your relationships change when you go through this process. Everything changes. You feel confused about your approach to the study, right? The things that I was feeling going through, all of these things. You feeling confused about your approach to the study. You being unsure of whether you're on the right track or not, and then having issues of belongingness or feeling unseen or unheard, feeling like an imposter, needing the space to feel validated and feel all the feelings and emotions. All of those things I began to think about. And it came to me as I was asking, how am I supposed to help people with what I've already experienced and with my knowledge? Right? So feeling the procrastination and calling it writer's block. Feeling the writer's block because I have nothing new or creative to say, all of that. So what happened was I created Sienna and Slate. So I sat down at my computer, and once you have vision, you have vision and you can work fiercely. Mm-hmm. So I sat down, and it was
getting done through you. You can't have the force to resist it. It's like there is a force, spirit, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. It is going to work through you. You're just the doer. The force.
Absolutely.
Somewhere much bigger than here. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you can try to sleep it off. You can try to, shoo it away. It's none of that. Right. So when I had this vision and I saw it, I can see it, happening. When I had this vision of Sienna and Slate and understanding what this would look like, it was like, oh my God, this is what I wish I would have had as a doctoral student. A dedicated space to think and write. So I created Sienna and Slate. Sienna and Slate, the name comes from, it's a nod to our ancestors, right? Sienna, using burnt clay, using whatever we could to write. And then slate, blank slate, write, chalkboard, black, whatever it is that they could use to write and to chart their thoughts and to pass down history, right? So that's where Sienna and Slate came from. So I created Sienna and Slate, and as a way to support the writer, the thinker, the doer through journaling, because this is what I wish I had as a doctoral student, a space to put all of this stuff, especially the stuff that I was going through in the other department, right? Not knowing what to say, not knowing how to say it, even knowing what to ask for, right? When I was going through all of these things. So yes, I was afraid and lonely and all of these, but what is it that I need? What do I ask for? I had no idea. So I didn't have this space, right? So I created Sienna and Slate. And I've created 2 journals. And this is initially the 2 journals as the foundation for this. The composition journal, which is...
When you say it, can I do show and tell?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I have the composition journal, and it's the traditional lined space journal where you can put whatever it is you need to put in Sienna and Slate. So the thing about journaling is they don't tell your secrets. You can write whatever it is you need to write in here, and it's not going to tell your secret as if it was you telling someone else, right? So, so we have the composition journal, then we have the introspection journal. And this is a journal with writing prompts. So the introspection journal is the one where it's like, well, what do I write? I don't even know what to say. Staring at the blank page, what am I supposed to write about? What am I supposed to be thinking about? Right? So this is the one that helps me with, how am I feeling right now? What is it that I need at this moment?
Can I share with them?
Absolutely.
So some things are just brain dumped. Like, she has this list of prompts over here. I'm just so proud of her. You know, I'm this proud academic mentor, mama, whatever you want to call it. So I just want to share this because it's a reality that a lot of people have graduated and their employment is precarious or not there, you know, and a lot of times we think that if we don't have an academic job, we have somehow failed, but that's not the case. You know, that doesn't have to be the case. You have a lot of talents and gifts, and you have learned from academia a lot of things that you can still use towards, you know, helping people and being purposeful and meaningful and all of those things. And to see her to do this journey and move through this dark phases to come out on the other side and say, I'm still authentically me, but I want to help other people who might be in their stuck places as well. And so here she has these prompts, and some of them are emotional. So she has like, at this moment I feel, and some of them are much more emotional and cognitive, you know. Why do I care about this research topic? I know it sounds silly, but when you think about why do you care, it's not like you want to give your elevator speech. That's not why you care, because if that is the thing you want to tell me right now, goes, oh, I know why I care. That's not the elevator speech you need to tell yourself, because that's okay, that's performative. But why do you care that this is what you're going to leave behind on earth when you're no longer here? That's a much harder question to answer than, why do I care? I care to just get my papers or my letters. Okay, but then you're not going to get any mileage out of this. This is just a stepping stone. It's just credentialing. But why? Why do you want to do it that way when this can give you a world that will expand for you if you really know, you know, what it is that you want to do and why do you want to do that work. So there, that kind of stuff. Then she talks about data, dialoguing with data. So she says, if my data could talk, I would ask it, you know, or if my data could talk, it would tell me. So there's some really, really deep, rich prompts that are spiritual, cognitive, intellectual, emotional. And, you know, I invited her to talk about this because I felt like she wasn't even talking about it to anybody. And I'm like, we need to talk. Folks don't know. Keondria is also an introvert, so I'm kind of and said, come talk to these people, because there will be people who would want to know this and will benefit from this. So she's like, okay, fine, I'll come, you know. But she's been doing this, you know, and just sharing very privately with some folks. And I thought, no, this is helpful information. People need to know your story and why you got to do this work. Go ahead, Keondria.
Yeah. So the two journals, what also makes Sienna and Slate special is the two journals have a message written in the front of them. So these are from, one is from our very own Dr. Paul Maxfield. So he wrote in the composition journal. So he's telling you his journey through the PhD process and giving you a bit of wisdom in that sense. And then the other, the introspection journal, is with Dr. Kimmery Newsom, and she's a very, very dear, very good friend of mine. And she's a marriage and family therapist, and she's giving you a bit of knowledge and wisdom on fortitude, right? So just persistence. Don't stop, keep going. You need to finish this thing. And then that's where the prompts help you get started with writing, and writing those deep things that are way below the surface.